couple of months ago, a viewer asked me to do a video about trading, and it's taken me a little bit of time because I wanted to create some play-alongs specifically designed to deal with trading. So let's take a closer look at that today. Welcome to Learn Jazz Bass with Matt Rybicki. As always, you know what to do. Please like, please subscribe, check for a PDF below if you'd like to get a little bit more information about what we're talking about today, which is about trading in the improvisational setting. Of course, we're talking about jazz, so let's talk about jazz improvisation. The basic idea is very much just some for me and some for you. We're taking the form of the song and improvising, but we're splitting it up in generally even divisions between one instrument and another. And very generically, that's between a horn player or a piano player and drums. And it would go back and forth and back and forth. So in this sort of stock generic way of doing it, of course, we'd have the head to the song, solos, and then at the end of the solos for the horns and piano and maybe bass, very typically, you might go to trading with the drums, and that would be in 4 or 8 bar segments. So 8 for, say, the trumpet player or the piano player, and then 8 for drums, and so on and so forth. Let's hear a really great example of this on a version of Billy Boy played by the Miles Davis Quintet. This is from the album Milestones, and this is Philly Joe Jones on drums, Red Garland's playing piano, Paul Chambers on bass, one of my faves, as you all know. And this is, to my understanding, a really great example for all drummers of just great trading with drums. So let's take a closer listen. I hope that was understandable for you. I think it's pretty straight ahead. You know, in this trading though, even with these even number of bars, sometimes drummers can be a little bit sort of squirrely with the time. They have great control generally of rhythm. And even if they don't, it's really on us to be able to keep our place when they are playing by themselves. Even if they play with the rhythm in a way that sounds sort of off kilter, we have to be able to know exactly when to come back in. A great example of this thing of obscuring the time that a drummer can do is from the Stan Getz and Bill Evans album. It's called Stan Getz and Bill Evans, and this is a tune called Funkallero. I always mispronounce that. And here's some trading between Bill Evans and the drummer Elvin Jones. Ron Carter's playing bass on this track as well. So notice how Elvin really sort of just messes with the time, and it becomes very hard to sort of hear where are the downbeats. I'm going to have two versions of this. The first will be without sort of any kind of assistance. We're just going to listen to the trading just as it is. Then I'm going to play it again, and I'm going to impose a metronome on it. and see if you can tell something interesting about what happens with the metronome. So let's take a listen to these two versions of this trading. So in the second version, when you heard the metronome sort of placed on top of it, did you notice that there was the slightest bit of sort of stutter, almost like just a little kind of very tiny, almost imperceptible pause, sometimes between beats 1 and 4. In fact, I had to go in and split up the metronome and move it just ever so slightly over because the time isn't perfect. No great drummer, no great musician is going to have absolutely perfect metronomic time, generally speaking. That's not how we judge whether a musician is great or not, right? What's interesting about this, as I say, it's not metronomically four measures or one perfect measure going to another perfect measure. But if you listen to those trades again, listen to what Elvin is doing, he is actually giving us phrases that indicate where he's feeling the downbeat or where he's feeling a strong beat that allows the other players to come in time. Even though it's sort of relative, it's not an objective metronomic time, everybody comes in at the right time because they're listening to the phrases that Elvin is playing. So in the spirit of this, as I said, I created a little short couple play-alongs for us to actually play with, and hopefully for you to get some of your own sort of private exercise, your private practice working on this kind of thing. So I've got the pianist Trevor Percario and the drummer Zac Covington, who created this play-along for us. And this is 2 choruses of Take the A Train. If you're not familiar with it, I will put the changes here, and I will also, of course, include the chords and the form in the PDF. So when Zac is taking his 4 bars playing drums, he's purposely trying to obscure the time here and there. So it's really up to us to be able to count very clearly when it's time for us to come in. So in this exercise, we're not soloing, we are just playing a walking line behind Trevor playing piano, but we need to stop playing for when Zac plays and also come in at the same time. So let's take a listen to that. So for what it's worth, I'm going to put these play-alongs at the end of the video just by themselves, no bass at all. And I know that it didn't quite work when I put a play-along on another video because you all mostly have iReal-B or iReal Pro. But these are unique tracks. You're not going to find them anywhere else. So I will put them at the end of the video if you want to play along with them and kind of get some reps in to practice this stuff. You know, it is easy or easier to trade when we've got even sets of bars or an even form. I mean, 32 bars divides evenly, right? But there are many kinds of forms that have sort of odd or lopsided amounts of bars in different sections. This tune, called the Balance Scales / the Cupbearers, is a Tommy Flanagan trio performance that is on YouTube from Jazz Baltica in 1999. Lewis Nash is playing drums on this, and what I'd like you to notice as we listen to this is that I've put a sort of counter at the bottom of the screen, and notice that they switch trading in terms of the number of measures. Sometimes it's 10 measures, which is quite odd, and then other times 12. So I believe it's a 22 bar form, which is, you know, a little unusual. Basically, there's a kind of a tag at the end, which makes sense. But when you sort of split it up just by numbers, it seems kind of weird. But of course, these master musicians make it sound great. So let's take a listen to Lewis Nash trading with Tommy Flanagan. So that trading between Tommy Flanagan and Lewis Nash really took some skill, doesn't it? You really have to know the song, and you really have to sort of be comfortable being able to sort of feel a little bit unsteady, right? Because things are changing, you know, just going back and forth, back and forth. It really helps that if you know the melody to the song, you're able to sort of hear it in your head as the improvisation trading happens. And, you know, just being able to feel the time, but also knowing that melody is going to make a huge difference. To that end, here's a really nice melody in a tune that I like very much called Almost Like Being in Love. And we've got Zac and Trevor playing again, and I'll play with them. And this also has a sort of an odd-ish form. It's the last section, it's an AABA section or AABC. The C section is 12 bars instead of 8. So it's really it's not super like strange, but it's this little bit of extra thing that you have to account for. In this particular way of doing it, Zac just ended up taking 8 measures at the end of the form. So at the beginning and during the form, he's trading with Trevor on piano for 4 bars. At the end, he plays 8 to accommodate for those extra measures. So let's take a listen. So far, mostly what we've heard is that we've got one instrument trading with another, basically two people. That doesn't have to be that way. We can trade between multiple people in the ensemble, or the whole group can actually go around in a circle. As a little bit of an example of this, here is a version of trading from the tune F.S.R. in a Ray Brown tribute concert that Christian McBride, Benny Green, and Greg Hutchinson did. Almost forgot Greg's name. At Jazz St. Louis. And so let's listen to this as they sort of pass the trading around. Pretty great, huh? I mean, like, who can argue with any of those guys? So fantastic. So for our purposes, we have a play along where we are passing around trading fours, but in a very strict round robin style. So the idea is for the first 4 bars of the tune Just Friends, Trevor is going to play piano. The next 4 bars, Zac will play drums. The next 4 bars will be a bass solo. Then rather than going back to drums, it's going to go back to piano for another 4, drums another 4, bass another 4, piano, drums, bass, and so on like that. It sounds easy, but in actual practice, it can be kind of tricky. You really have to keep your wits about you and stay focused on what's happening in the moment. So let's take a listen to an example of what this version of Just Friends sounds like. So as we've seen so far, usually the trading is with drums and some kind of sort of melodic instrument, a horn or a piano in a lot of the examples we had today. But what if for our solo or for the trading in general, we just do it between bass and drums? That can be really fun and kind of a simple surprise to sort of lay out in front of the band and in front of the audience. So here is a couple of choruses of a B-flat blues between me and Ulysses Owens. So I get 4, he gets 4, and so on. So we're talking about soloing here so that we are the one who is primarily trading with the drums. Let's take a listen to that. And just to repeat, the length of the trading doesn't have to be 4-bar sections. It could be anything you want. At faster tempos, it tends to be 8 bars and 8 bars. And you could even split it up differently if you wanted to. For example, on my CD Driven, on one of the tunes, Ulysses and I trade 6s. So that provides an interesting and fun thing to try to do. Another fun thing that can happen won't necessarily be under our control a lot of times as bass players, but you should be aware that a fun thing that can happen is that those that are trading may change the length of the trades during the experience itself. So here's an extreme example of what I'm talking about in The Blues Walk from Max Roach and Clifford Brown. Harold Land on tenor sax and Clifford Brown on trumpet are starting trading with 4 bars and then going to 2 bars and then going to 1 bar and then a half bar, and then they're basically playing on top of each other during the whole thing. So listen to that and see if you enjoy it as much as I do. Pretty amazing, right? And lastly, I just wanted to mention that trading can be a great opportunity for musical conversation of all kinds. If you are the one that is soloing, try to interact with the person you are trading with. It's a lot of fun. And again, one extreme and masterful level of this is from the album Sunny Side Up. And here is a rhythm changes called The Eternal Triangle. And Sonny Stitt and Sonny Rollins are trading. And notice what they do. I put some sort of analysis, some words on the screen to sort of try to capture what I hear and I know what others have heard in what they're doing. So take a listen to this. Can you imagine having the level of control to be able to not only know what the person you're trading with sounds like, what their sound is, or what their default sort of generic, cliches are, but to be able to play with them in the moment at a fast tempo like that? I mean, these guys' minds are truly amazing. So I hope that you got something out of it like I certainly did when I listened to it. Thanks for joining me today. I hope it was helpful as always. Please remember to like and subscribe. There's a PDF below. And always remember, straight ahead and strive for tone.
One, two, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. two, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. One, two, 1, 2, 1.